All right. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Hope everybody's having a wonderful day. I am running as per usual. I'm very excited to have this webinar today, though. We're going to be talking about some financial reporting. Again, the differences between QuickBooks Online Advanced, QuickBooks Enterprise, right, which is a desktop product, and Acumatica. So I hope everybody is very excited about that. If I can just get a little hand raise or a shout out or something, where are you at, where are you located, in the chat to let me know everybody can hear me okay. That would be awesome. All right, thanks guys. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Perfect. And 10:31, so we're gonna get started because there is a lot to cover today. So as we start off, like every webinar that we do, we want to remind you a little bit about who Fourlane is. So here at Fourlane, we have 4 uniques. We have been the #1 QuickBooks solution provider since 2010, so 10 years running, going into year 11 here. And so when we started out, we focused heavily in the enterprise space, mostly working on conversion projects, focused on process with clients, and so that was a little bit different than I think a lot of people who were in QuickBooks and focused in on bookkeeping and things like that. So we came at it from a different angle, and that is where a lot of our success came to play. Now, because we've been in the enterprise space, which tends to be a little bit obviously small business, all of it is small business in this space, but they tend to be the higher end of small business, the higher revenue end of small business space. So a lot of our clients were pushing into the ERP world. And so that's why a couple of years ago, we took on, I think it's been almost 5 years now, 4 or 5 years, we took on an ERP product. So there's very few companies who have truly bridged that gap, right? A lot of companies, there are a couple companies out there that do QuickBooks and ERP, but they're completely separate departments, not together. Our ERP department understands QuickBooks. They are QuickBooks experts first. So when clients are moving that, taking that journey to move into an ERP product, it's so important to understand where you're coming from. And it helps tremendously with that conversion. So QuickBooks and ERP experts, that is definitely something that sets us apart. Obviously, we're experts in accounting and systems. We do find in the ERP space that people tend not to understand financials, which is what we're going to be talking today. I do interviews all the time for ERP consultants, and I say, can you please explain to me what a balance sheet is? And oftentimes they do not know that answer, which of course, when we're setting up an ERP system, I mean, the whole point is to get to that balance sheet. So if we don't know what that is, then it can be a problem. So we know what that is here at Fourlane. And then of course, we're project managers for change management. That's what we do. We help people go through change. We empower people through knowledge. We do a lot of knowledge paths here so that people can be running on their own. And then our expectation or our goal is for them to come back to us when they're making major changes around the company. Our formula to success, we are focused heavily on getting data. Data is all we have nowadays, right? So getting good data, readily available data to make decisions. That is our goal. We have lots of services. These are just a couple of the services that we offer here at Fourlane. All right, so let's get in product. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to be talking about today, oops, already had it open, is in QuickBooks Online Advanced. So of course, when we log into QuickBooks Online, it is a web-based product, and gosh, they fascinate me all the time. I come in here and I find new things that I thought didn't exist. What's nice about having a web-based product is that, with QuickBooks Desktop, you do have to install any of the updates and you have to manage that installation. A lot of times in the QuickBooks Online, most times, I think only one time this was not happen, it didn't happen automatically, but you just show up one day and magically you have new reports, magically you have new features available to you. And of course, it's just a matter of taking the time to learn those features, right? So QuickBooks Online is great at pushing stuff out quickly. So when it comes to financial reporting, in here you can see in the report section, right? We have some standard reports. You can create some customized reports, and then they have what's called management reports, right? So it's kind of like company overview, and you can build in some groups of reports in there. So with standard reports, the things that we're going to be focused on today are going to be balance sheet and profit and loss, and what we can add in there. So balance sheet, we can have comparative reports, we can have detailed reports, summary reports. Profit and loss, we have percentage of total income, comparison, right? That's going to be year-over-year comparisons type things. Detail, year-to-date comparison, profit and loss by customer, by month. And then they have these tags in here, which are fascinating. They're basically just, you know, group this transaction into a tag for me, please, and then I want to report on it. So it's great. I did ask the desktop team, so when are we going to get tags in desktop? That would be amazing. Okay, so some different reports here. If we go look at a profit and loss report, so again, we're going to be focusing in on these today. So we have, you know, this year to date, we can change all of our different period that we're looking at, 365 and 60, some different options there. You can put in a custom date. You can display columns by, so one splicing. I can display columns by weeks, months, years, right? So again, one splice. You can display all rows or non-zero rows, right? Or all active. You can compare to another period, so previous period with percent dollars change, previous year, year to date. Okay. And then looks like we have something new, right, with reorder columns, so you can put them in different orders. This is something that we get frequently. People say they want, you know, instead of in QuickBooks Desktop, they have, it reads left to right as far as oldest account balance to newest account balance. And people coming from other systems sometimes are used to it being flipped. And getting to that flip, you can't just do naturally. You have to go into QuickBooks Advanced Reporting to do that. So we can flip the accounting method here pretty easily, cash versus accrual. And then we can have some customizations built in. So again, we have the report customizations in here. Report period, same thing, cash accrual. We can have some number formatting changes. Columns are there. We can change columns that we're adding. We can add in filters, okay? So we can add in filters for account. We can add in filters for customer, vendor, employee, product. And then we have some header, footer things, some pretty generic, right? So company name, title, the date prepared, time prepared, report basis, cash versus accrual, and then the alignment on the report. So some pretty, it's a lot of things that you can do, but when you get into, you know, more detailed reporting or more customizable reporting, obviously there's going to be even more. So lots of, it's very difficult to have a report writer tool, right? That's the thing. So in a lot of some of the older ERP systems, all reports would fall into crystal reports. You'd have to build up all your reports from scratch sometimes in some systems. So what QuickBooks does incredibly well, whether it's online or desktop, is it gives you a ton of off-the-shelf reports, and it gives you some basic customization that you can build in product that makes it a little bit easier to get towards where you're headed, right? Where you want, the way you want things to look, okay? So going into QuickBooks Desktop, also too here, just as a FYI, right, we have collapse and expand. So that's going to collapse header accounts, what QuickBooks knows as header accounts, into sub-accounts here. So just so that you're aware there. Going into QuickBooks Desktop, if I go in, so company and financial, I have pretty similar reports. Profit and loss standard, detail year to date, previous year comparison, by job, by class, right? They don't have tags in desktop. That is a new concept that, in my opinion, was a direct hit on something that Xero did very well that QuickBooks Online did not do extremely well. But I'm hoping for one day it'll be in desktop. Balance sheet reports, right? Balance sheet detail summary by class. We have this report, although it doesn't always work all the time because there's some transactions that the offset doesn't have a class, but we can help people figure that out. So looks very similar, right? Nothing really glaring except for the tags that jump out that QuickBooks Online does that desktop doesn't do, or vice versa. When we get into the profit and loss, of course, we have some very similar fields here. So total by, right? There's a couple of additional options, like I can total by item detail versus item type. This would be, total by my inventory parts versus non-inventory parts. This is by, profit and loss by item. Okay, so you just get a little bit more details there. So totaling by rep, by terms, this is one total by shipping method. I don't know who would ever run a P&L by shipping method, but the fact that we know that it's there means that we can use that field to possibly do something else, right? Get different information than just shipping method in there. But again, it's limited, right? I can't just come in here and say total by whatever I want to, because it is a report writer in product. We have a couple differences when it comes to customization. So I can display columns here. We said we can sort by and flip the order of sorting. Most of the add subcolumns are pretty standard, although we cannot reorder them like we can in QuickBooks Online. It will pick the order for us. One of the reports I think that I get asked for the most often, which we can do that report, is just we have to do it in a different way, which I'll show you here in a minute. But it is looking for, previous period. So looking at profit and loss, let's say this quarter, profit and loss last quarter, so previous period, profit and loss previous period last year, and then comparison to previous period this year. So that's something that we have to do on a different report type here. Filters, so there are going to be more filter options because you can filter by a lot of different fields in here. So we can filter by custom fields, we can filter by, print status, we can filter by PO number. There's just going to be more options as far as filters go in desktop here. Again, this is the off-the-shelf report writer tool. We have header footer, which is a very similar look to QuickBooks Online. Alignment, right? Page number, extra footer lines on the bottom here. And then we have some font changes that are going to be a little bit more in depth, right? So you can change font for different areas of the report versus a report across the board, as well as some of the numbers that we saw in QuickBooks Online Advanced. So this is one option built in product, the report writer tool that we have. One thing, so we do have collapse rows. So you can see, like if I look at car and truck expenses, I expand, I see the details. Let me make this for all time so I have some more fun stuff. I expand, I see more details. I can collapse, right? So it rolls everything up to a header account for me. Our goal at Fourlane is always to be able to get a profit and loss statement and a balance sheet statement on one page. We want to focus people on the high level details, and then if we need to drill down, we can. Okay. The other thing that QuickBooks Online allows you to do, QuickBooks Desktop will allow you to do is if I have a report by like customer job, I can now, this is something that's fairly new, I can collapse my columns down. So you can see Dunning's Pool Depot actually has sub-jobs under it. I have the opportunity to expand and collapse columns down. You can do that by customer, and you can do that by class, right, which is like your department. So if you have classes with subclasses underneath, you would be able to collapse those down if you want to take advantage of that. Okay, that's all in product. Other options that desktop has is we do have this statement writer. It's very difficult for people to use this because I don't believe it works very well with Office 360 and so that statement writer, the difference with that is it's limited, right? Still profit and loss and balance sheet, very simple reports. There's only a couple of reports that you can use. It pulls the details into Excel, but what was nice with this is you could reorder. So let's say you in product put something in your income account here, but when you reflected it in your statement, you wanted it to reflect as a contra cost of goods sold account. Like you could move accounts around, reorder accounts, and it would maintain that reordering of accounts for you. So that's something that was nice in the statement writer. Also, for some nonprofits, occasionally, we report on a cash basis, so we would have to move some things off of the balance sheet onto the P&L, right? So that we could recognize for budget reporting the cash that was spent, right? So they would want to see that. So we'd move something that we would, like fixed assets, right? I would post under fixed assets in the file, but when I reported for the board, I needed that detail to show up on the P&L for the year. So I would move it, okay? So we have the statement writer as an option. I'm not going to show it to you because most people don't use it anymore. And then we have, of course, advanced reporting. So we have people here on staff that do advanced reporting, write advanced reporting reports. We have a couple off the shelf that we're going to roll out soon. But the advanced reporting module is basically like a, is like a Crystal Reports if you're used to that from back in the day. So it pulls all the details from the database. You can build reports, you can total reports by however you define them to be totaled. It doesn't have a tremendous amount of guidance, right? So when I say guidance, in here I'm able to say filter by this account and put in some information in here. There's not guidance in advanced reporting. You are going to be writing code basically, right? It's how you set it up, which is why we have people here on staff that do that for our clients. So as an example, one of the reports that our clients ask for all the time is they ask for sales orders related to purchase orders by customer, by item. So Dunningsville Depot has this open sales order, 2 on it, or we have 2 on hand, 10 on the sales order. They have no purchase orders tied to them, so we need 8 more ordered in order to fulfill Dunningsville Depot order that's out there, okay? Also some color, a little bit prettier in here. We can do a lot more with these kinds of things. So that is enterprise only. Probably should have made this specific one a lot more in depth than what I have, because there's just so many options when it comes to reporting. So let's get into Acumatica. Okay. Now, Acumatica, of course, every module has their own reports, similar to how QuickBooks does. So if I get into the receivables reports, I have AR, a whole bunch of AR reports. If I get into my sales order reports, I have a whole bunch of sales order reports. So it's very similar to how QuickBooks has things categorized, right? It just keeps it all in one section as opposed to being in each individual. I guess QuickBooks kind of puts it in both places. Like you have some reports that'll fall under the module header. You have some reports when you go to the reports section. So in Acumatica, when we're looking at financial statements, here we have 2 breakouts of areas. So we have just general reports, trial balance, GL, details, everything. We have inquiries, which is kind of like pivot tables, right? Is how I like people to focus in on those. But we have our financial statements. These financial statements are standard. If you customize additional reports that you want to see, you can add them to these financial statements, right? In QuickBooks, if you memorize a report, it will fall into the memorized report section. You can't add another report to this area here. Okay. So in Acumatica, you can do that. If we go into a profit and loss report, so I'm just going to pull this up. The first thing that it does, and when it loads up, is it kind of you have the opportunity to have it ask you questions. And that is part of when you edit the report, you define what do you want to ask prior to running the report, okay? So we'll take a look at edit report here in a minute, but I wanna look at the results first. So if I push this back to 12/30 or 12, so this is also looking at by financial period, not necessarily a date, right? Because we can have transactions dated. Since it's a system, you can have transactions that are dated like January 15th, but the period that they affect as far as financials can be December. Okay. So when we're looking at a profit and loss report, this is something that's off the shelf, but you can see it's going to be a little bit different than QuickBooks because you can define everything. You can define your buckets. So similar to what I was talking about in the statement writer, I can define what falls into what bucket, what gets rolled up into what bucket. It doesn't necessarily have to fall there as far as order goes on the chart of accounts account, okay? if I wanted to pull out even a piece of like, let's say I was filtering, so internally, right? We have a budget for sales and we have a budget for services department. And the sales budget gets to take or own a piece of some of the services department because, you know, they get to take a piece of their revenues into their budget. So I can make that happen in here. So I can pull from a different department's budget if I wanted to. I can write that code into this report to pull from another number onto my report if I needed to, okay? You can do calculations on these reports. That is something that you cannot do in QuickBooks unless you're going into QuickBooks Advanced Reporting, doing calculations on reports. This does have a very QuickBooks-ish feel though, which is drill down or drill around. So anything that is blue, it's a hyperlink and I can drill down to the details. You can define when you double click. In QuickBooks, if I double click on a detail, right, QuickBooks has defined what I see. In Acumatica, you can define what you see when you drill down into those details if you wanted to get into that amount of detail. Coming down below, so this is also something that I think a lot of people ask about, is the EBITDA, getting different subtotals basically, right? So, and having to not rewrite your chart of accounts in order to get different subtotals basically. So you can see that you have opportunities to do different buckets. So in the chart of accounts, depreciation and amortization may fall somewhere like in order up top here, right, as far as numbering scheme goes, but we've pulled it out separately for our financial reporting. Okay, so you have that opportunity there. Going into editing the reports. 8 minutes, oh my gosh. So all the reports can have different codes, right? So you can decide, is this a GL report? Is this a project management report? Is this a accounts receivable report? Because we have different modules and it is a true subledger module where, you know, you post things to the AR module and then you post it from the AR module to the general ledger. So you can run reports based off of the subledgers, right, which would be all of these things, or the general ledger, which is going to be everything rolled together. You also have budget ledgers. I mean, there's different things that you have there, tax ledgers. So you can choose, you can choose which type of report you're running, put in a description, right? Again, which type here, the code, and it's kind of like a duplication of information there. But when we look at the row set, so this is where you're going to see things like what we see in QuickBooks as far as formatting the values, right? So what's the format that it's going to look in, right? Do I make it divided by 1,000 or divided by millions? You know, what's the data source? You know, is there line breaks? Do I need to put in page breaks that are forced through? Do I want to hide zero balances? You know, all sorts of things. So this is where you are defining the row set. So what we're showing as far as the rows go, right? And then we also can define for columns what we want to see, right? So columns, we want to total by, or we want to, you know, what do we see across the top, year to date, period to date, percentage of sales, and then this is where you would be adding in additional things like if you wanted to do, there's so many different things I've seen people do. And like if you wanted to do customers, sales by customers, and you wanted to rank your customers, you could have that ranking showing down here, right? Put it in order, or show year to date for them this year versus year to date for them last year, and show what percentage of growth they've had year over year by customer. You'd be able to add those customized columns in here. So unit set, so we can define in here what information we're pulling from, right? And I'll show you where this looks, where it looks like on the side. But what this will allow you to do is when I run the report, I can choose to have groups in order to kind of narrow down information. So just show it to me for products retail, just show it to me for services East Branch. Obviously, this doesn't have very good information on it. Then we can come in here. This is where I was talking about you can request data ahead of time. So when you pop up that screen, you say, I'm going to run this report. What data do you want to ask them for? So you can ask them by company. So in Acumatica, again, right, we can have multiple companies. has multi-tenancy there, multiple companies, and then branches within each company. So I could ask which company do you want to run this for ahead of time. You can ask which ledger you want to run it for, right? Budget, reporting ledger, statistical ledger. You can have only for certain accounts, right? Filter out accounts right from the front end if you wanted to. So only run this for, I mean, obviously in the P&L it doesn't make as much sense, or it could, you know, only run it for accounts that are between 5,000 and 6,000 for something that we're doing. We can run it for sub-accounts, which is basically a different way to splice our data. So only show me sub-accounts for 001 to 100 versus anything beyond 100. You can do it for different branches, right? So limit the branches here. We can do it for different periods. So don't show me all time, show me last year during this time frame, right? So again, different periods. And then we also have account classes. So similar to classes in QuickBooks, we can have, it's very confusing until you see the structure, but it's just another way to slice your data. You can use sub-accounts to slice your data, which is what you're used to seeing in like older desktop ERP products where you have account 6000-001-005, 6000-002-050, right? That's what this sub-account structure can be, but you don't have to use those because we can have account classes, which allows you to splice the accounts into different categories without needing to build those extra chart of accounts. So you can do both, basically. Amount type, right? So you can have, right, which type amounts do you want to include in this report? And then just, it has a little bit more customization as far as alignment goes than what you can do inside of QuickBooks. Okay, so it's just going to be more. All right. Going back into the reports, so if I do like a rolling as an example, and let me do this back to 2019. I don't think we've refreshed data in our sample file here, but you can see I can choose. So in this case, again, this is something we get asked all the time, which is just funny, but the latest period is on the left, the earliest period is on the right. We get that question quite frequently. And in QuickBooks, we would have to be doing that in advanced reporting to be able to build that up. Okay. So it has the reporting module that you have to go separate in QuickBooks Desktop, advanced reporting. It has that built-in product. So you don't have to, you know, pull data into a separate database in order to run reports. Okay. And of course, QuickBooks Online doesn't have that. You have to go to an app to get that. All right, we've got 2 minutes left. I have a ton of questions that have come in here. Let me just hit on a couple questions and see. I should have made this a longer one. There's so much more, but hopefully it gives you guys just like a little bit of quenching your thirst of what is possible when you move into all these different products. So we have here, is there a desktop version of Acumatica? So Acumatica is a web-based product. The reason why we chose Acumatica, though, is that they do give you the freedom to choose to run it offline. So you can take the Acumatica product and run it on your own servers if you want to, a perpetual license. The pricing on that is a little bit different. None of our clients do that really, but the fact that you know that you can do that means that you own your data, where a lot of other SaaS-based products do not allow you to take their product offline and function. Like in my Acumatica that we're showing here, I'm actually using Skyline hosting, which some of our clients on here might use Skyline. Skyline hosting, they're hosting my Acumatica file for me. So the answer is yes. There technically is a desktop version, right? But even in the desktop version, you're still going to be accessing it through a web browser. It's just that you can access it through an intranet versus the internet if you want to, which is incredibly powerful. And that is the number one reason we chose this product over, you can imagine their number one competitor. That's why we chose this product. Okay, so if you guys want to go ahead and hop off, you're more than welcome to. I want to thank you for joining us today. Hopefully, again, you took away something from this, some little nugget, and just let us know if you have additional questions. I'm going to hang out here for a couple extra minutes and try to get through as many questions as I can. There are a lot today, which is exciting. I love engagement here. So can Acumatica handle intercompany transactions without having to open up a post? So yes, kind of off topic, but yes, Acumatica does have intercompany, I have it set up interbranch account mapping. So you can choose, right, in my branch here, when I post into other branches, where does it go? What's the offset account? And then when you are putting in a bill as an example, you can choose to say which branch you're posting it to. And I think we have a couple videos on this, truthfully, so I don't have to it'll take me a minute to get through it. My load time I play around with my file too much, right? So, but in here, I can choose to say, you know, which branch is this being posted for, and then it will allocate it to appropriate intercompanies. And then there's some reconciliations that we can show you how to do. So yes, it's true intercompany accounting. And if you have additional questions on that, we can set up a demo. But I know that I've done that in one of our previous webinars too, in case you want to peek. On our previous webinars, they should all be at fourlane.com. If I can spell my own company name. Under About, and then we have Events and Webinars, and then we have Past Events, right? So we've had sales orders, customers, what's new, Acumatica ERP. So this one probably is where we talked about, yeah, intercompany accounting. So you can take a peek at that one maybe. Or just reach out to us and we'll do a demo, no problem. Does it handle limiting entries when it does consolidated financial statements? So yeah, you can define that on the intercompany. I expect that's what you're talking about. So yeah, yes, you can have those merged together on the reports. That's part of the setup. Will Acumatica allow unlimited companies to be open at the same time? Not sure what you mean by that. So in Acumatica, you can have companies, which you can flip between the companies. I can be in revision 2 at the same time as I'm in, revision 2 services at the same time as I'm in revision 2 products. I'm logged into it all at the same time. It's just where am I going to post to? And then they have true separate companies. So anyway, the structure is dependent, you know, are there relations here versus, you know, maybe you need them to completely entirely separate here. So we could help you define how you're going to set it up, but you can be logged into multiples at the same time. Yeah. Can you run a P&L by class similar to QuickBooks? So yes. So in here, right, like a profit and loss by branch as an example. So this would be similar to 2019 run report. So, you know, doesn't have very much data on my report here, but yeah. So you can see it'd be similar to branches as an opportunity. We could also total columns by account class, by item class, by customer class, vendor class. And then all of those sub accounts are basically, we could build in additional whatever we want to name them. So sub accounts are maintained in a separate table and they're just like a QuickBooks class, except for the differences in QuickBooks you can have. So like when I have a class, let me look at my classes here. So I have Amazon, right? And then I have web store and custom pool systems under Amazon. So let's say I needed web store under Amazon and I needed web store under installation, right? So in QuickBooks, you'd have to double that up. I'd have to call it, okay, whatever. I'd have to, I don't know what I just did. If I wanted web store to be under Amazon and to be under extended warranty, I'd have to duplicate it, right? Because this is kind of a flat list. In Acumatica, I can have extended warranty in Amazon be one subclass code, and then I can have web store and custom systems be a separate subclass code, so I don't have to duplicate them. Hopefully that makes sense. Again, if you need details, shoot us an email. We will get on a demo with you to explain more. It does have payroll. We do have payroll options in product and then also payroll apps, just like we have with QuickBooks in product. And then we have, ADP Paychecks that connect. So yes, we do have payroll. Can you demonstrate how to show sub-account in P&L? Oh, so hopefully that explained it, what was meant there. Okay, so payroll again. All right. Looks like I answered all the questions. Again, thank you guys as always for participating. I love all the questions. If you have anything further, please reach out to us. Reach out to me, Marjorie@Fourlane.com, and I will get you on the right pathway to who you should be talking to over here. It is very exciting to see people, continue to grow. And we are always, our core is always going to be QuickBooks. QuickBooks is going to have way more people than any product out there, right? But it is exciting to know that when people when they need to exit the QuickBooks space and get into a different product, that they have a solution. And it's a solution we feel safe sending our clients to, right? Where you're not renting your data, you own your data. That is key. Okay, guys. I hope everybody has a wonderful day, and please let us know if there's anything that we can do to help. Take care.